I do like this one. Okay, we're live.
We're live.
We're live, everyone. Thanks so much for coming in and listening to Jill and I. So as mentioned, we're talking about ADHD, time management, burnout, all the things as we kind of probably experience as an entrepreneur. But before we dig in, Jill, do you want to take lead and just say who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks. I'm so excited to be here with you. I love collabing with you on all things. So this is a joy for me. I am a time management strategist. So my work involves speaking and coaching to leaders and individuals and teams on time management. And really what I like to do is bring in the holistic approach. So we're talking about everyone as an individual. We're talking about productivity and rest. We're considering all types of neurotypical and neurodiverse brains and just really looking at how to manage our time as like a function of how to live a great life.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I also love collaborating with you. You've been on my radio show, I've been on your podcast, and all the things in between. And now we're doing this. So I'm super excited to be doing this. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Brittney Ashley, the owner founder of Creative Dynamic Virtual Services. In short, Creative Dynamics, since it's such a long word. Overall, we're a boutique service that offers executive assisting support, virtual assisting, online business management, fraction COO, all the things in between to help really build your business up from startup to enterprise. I'm also a certified business coach, imposter syndrome coach, and have a radio show called Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, that we are all worthy of whatever we want to pursue and breaking down societal norms. Mouthful. Or many
A
hats.
lot. You're like a jack of all trades,
I know. And
master of all.
I know. And FYI to all that are coming in listening, I do have my son home sick. He's napping on the couch right now. I just put like all the pillows all the down. So if we hear crying, you might have to take the show, Jill, and then I'll go make sure he's okay and come back. That's how mom life and the essence of multitasking as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. All good.
Yeah, well, let's dig into it. Maybe we should just talk right about time management and how we as entrepreneurs can even start.
Yeah. I totally get this one. I did a presentation yesterday within a business club of sort of female founders and entrepreneurs, and it was really well attended because this is a big topic on a lot of people's minds. And a lot of the questions I got was like, well, how do you actually do it? How do you, especially if you're still working a full-time job while you're carving out your business and it's currently a side hustle, like how do you make the time to be a wife, a mother, a friend, a daughter, and an entrepreneur, and sometimes an employee? And honestly, what it really comes down to for me is acknowledging the season that you're in and working within that. Because I remember when I first started the entrepreneurship journey, it was 5 years ago now, and I wanted to be at the place I am now right away, and I wanted to be able to put all of my time in and also be a great parent and be present in my home and all the things. And one of the biggest reframes at that time that helped me was realizing that even if you can't do as much as you want to do because of whatever circumstances are happening in your life, we all have responsibilities and obligations that we just can't not do realistically. We're limited, but that doesn't mean that the efforts you're putting in don't count. It's like the small pieces are building a foundation, especially if your kids are young, like at the time mine were. And it's like, I felt so frustrated that the business couldn't grow as quickly as I wanted because I didn't have the time to put in. But now I'm realizing I was laying the foundational pieces so that as soon as they went to school, I was like, okay, we're good. I can fly now.
I love that you say that because I'm in that, I think, level. My kids are young, 6 and 3, for those who don't know. I started this business, one, to help moms work from home because I understood that the flexibility is not there, even though so many businesses are like, we're flexible. Sorry, you're not.
No.
It's telling you right now, for a parent, as a mother, a lot of people are not flexible. And so that was like my passion point to start the business. But then really, like, as I was trying to navigate myself, I really found that I really wanted to scale up from very fast. Like, I wanted the jump go kind of ship. And I've been doing this now for 6 years, and I keep saying this in all, like, in the podcast we did together, the radio show, like, give myself grace, give yourself grace, because I find that I think it comes to society as well, that we see people talking about, I've built my business successful in from day one up.
Yeah.
And like that, like Rome was not built overnight, like the saying happens. And so when time management comes in, knowing how you fit time management in the day, a month, or a week, like I think I've talked about this in the past with you, that I've had a business coach that was like, wake up at 5 a.m. The most successful people are wake up at 5 a.m. And I'm going to squash that, because I don't believe that. I think if you're committed and passionate and resilient, those are the most successful businesses. And perhaps it's not what you thought it was going to be from the first thing that you start, but you pivot as you go.
You
Just like,
learn.
exactly.
One of my favorite stories to share is this idea of like a morning routine, because when I was first getting into it and I was doing all my research on habits and productivity and time management, it was very masculine, right? All the literature was very like men specifically, but often like people who weren't parents or who were very financially stable. Like it was not the same circumstance as me. And I felt really down. Like, why can't I do the morning routine? Why can't I, like do these things that they're telling me are required to be successful in business? And then I realized like, I'm in a different phase of life, but that doesn't mean that these principles of success can't be applied. So that was like the foundation of building up the podcast, Grow Like a Mother, was like, okay, I figured it out. I figured out how to tweak a morning routine. For me, I did it at night instead. Cool, that's great. And just like sharing these little tidbits of how we can make these personal and professional development tools work for us as working mothers, because it does need to look different. And also now I'm really passionate about bringing in the piece of like, yes, let's be super productive so we make our time count. And are we considering rest? Because burnout is a real thing. And I know so many women in my network, myself included, have experienced real, like clinically diagnosed adrenal burnout. And it takes a long time to recover from that. Yeah.
And it's very important to kind of recognize what that looks like. And it shows up differently for everybody. For me, like I could feel last year that I was feeling on the level of burnt out, which I am self-diagnosed with ADHD, but I do have dyslexia, and they do correlate. I've learned along my research and all the things. But a lot of people joke being like, Brittney, how do you do it all? Like you run a business, a team, and all the things in between. And I want to say it's my amazing ADHD that does do that, but then it also pushes to the level of burnout. So last year it was pretty almost there, and I could see it because there are certain things that I added to my plate that also wasn't giving me joy. And so when I'm such a people pleaser, and so I was adding more and more and more, and that's where I was seeing where my burnt out was going too, because a lot of things that I was people pleasing too was burning me out. And so this year I removed a lot of that stuff, and I also took time in December off and January, and I just kind of cleared the calendar as much as I could, like obviously serving my clients as best as I can with my team, but I just didn't want to take on more clients. And that was really hard for me because we do live in a world of scarcity, of where's that money coming from next? Where's these things? So I was in the scarcity mindset, but like I mentioned, I did the course Trauma with Money, and that's part of my coaching tools that I want to work with other people with. I decided I'm switching my mindset. Instead of coming from a state of scarcity, how can I come from a state of, this will be my growth piece, my growth mindset piece. If I let go of these things, how can I reframe my thoughts over here? And so, long story short, burnout looks different for everybody, and it's just finding those ways to kind of know that state's coming up for you and how you're going to not fill your cup full.
Yes. And on that topic, and I know you've taken the quiz that I have with which it sort of helps you identify your time management style or your productivity style. But once you know that, like we can pinpoint from that archetype what your burnout trigger is going to be. Because for some of us, it's people pleasing. For some of us, it's taking on too much. Like for others of us, it's literally just working like workaholic on, even if it's just on one thing, we can go so deep into it, right? So for each of the types, they each have a different burnout trigger. And so it's really cool when you can get all these little layers of information, right? I don't know about you, but I'm like personal development junkie. I'm like, give me my Enneagram, give me my human design. I want to know my astrology, all the things to help me understand, to be able to personalize my own journey. Because the biggest mistake I made in the beginning was looking to other people.
Yes.
Right? Like that's how you start. Yeah. That's where you get the information. You come to these lives, you listen to the podcasts, you read the books, but then you got to stop and see what actually works for you and be willing to chuck out things that aren't reasonable or aren't reasonable in this season, because things will inevitably stop working for you after a while. It's just like a diet, right? Or a medication regime. My mom suffers from migraines and she's always having to change her cocktail because it wears off.
Yep.
So you need to be able to have an abundance of tools to be able to say, well, what works for this season? What works for this task?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually had a conversation with somebody and they're like, I want to work with everybody that gives me energy, that has the energy. And I was like, I like that. Because really, I am a people pleaser. I'm a hard worker. I do all the things. I'm the kind of person that I if I fail, I get up 10 times better.
Right.
And I love to fail because then I learn how I can pivot and where I can move. But on that note, overall, I just love to mold my calendar that I'm learning that fits me well. So with 2 young kids, the day doesn't like Hudson's home. It's chaos. Well, actually, it's really quiet. Knock on wood. I'm not making eye contact over there. He woke up. But long story short, my day is usually, I feel like right now, I'm always sometimes in a state of chaos because I can't plan it as much as I think I can. As somebody who's a people pleaser slash perfectionist slash planner, it's really, really hard for me.
Yeah.
So going back to give myself grace. We were just talking about the coach that told me to wake up at 5 a.m. I don't work well at 5 a.m. because I wake up throughout the night still with my son who needs my help or who maybe had nightmares or sleeping issues and whatsoever. So sometimes I'm waking up 2 to 3 times a night. So I like to have that full REM cycle and push it and wake up at 7 a.m. if I can. And then work later at night. I'm more efficient at night. So it's finding where you're more efficient in your work patterns, I guess. And then time blocking those that make sense. Maybe Fridays you tend to see you're more creative between 12 and 2. So
Yeah. It's funny because for me, I'm the exact opposite. If I can get up and be at my computer by 6 every morning, I'm like, that is my sweet spot, because by 2 or 3, Heather's like, no to the 5 a.m. Well, it depends. It totally depends. When I was waking up with my littles, same thing. I'm like, I can't do this, because they would wake up at 4:30. And I'm like, well, I'm not waking up at 3:30 to start a morning routine. Like, this is ridiculous.
yes. Yeah. I know I was looking at the time, but maybe we can end on maybe some little reframe productive tools for maybe for time management. For me personally, when I've worked with others, I find that some are just a little bit hesitant on the time management or not sure where to start. So maybe we can kind of dive in there.
Sure. Well, the first thing I'll say, and I'll keep it brief, is that if you're not looking ahead to what your week is going to look like, you're already behind the 8 ball. And it doesn't need to look like, a full hour-long planning session and really strategic and really structured, because that doesn't feel good for people. But there's really a lot of value to understanding how much space is in your week coming up, so that you know what you have capacity to say yes or no to, or you can sort of expect in advance the days that you might have lower energy or that you might be tired because you've got really busy, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But I really love to offer a reframe of what we would normally think of as kind of wasted time. These 5 or 10 minute pockets throughout the day that we normally will just pick up our phone, or some people, if they still smoke, they go out for a smoke. You just kind of waste that time.
Yes.
Those pockets are referred to as time confetti in the time study world. And if we can use those moments of time confetti for something that can help us either regulate our nervous system or bring us a little bit of self-care throughout the day, that can be a really interesting way to use those moments so that you can feel still filled up throughout the day. Like you've got a full cup, but you didn't have to take a whole chunk of time to do it.
Yeah. Love that. It's so, you can hear him wanting a muffin.
She's happy now.
He is happy. I'll get you a muffin here in a moment. Okay, Sweet Pea? On that note, I just really, like, from what I have learned along the way, sometimes, like you're just saying, I find that when you need to read all the books until you find like a solution that fits best for you. If you just read one book and you're like, ugh, this is not, I failed.
Yeah.
This isn't working. The person that wrote that book is because it worked for them, perhaps, right? So it's just making and molding things into what works for you. Bottom line, it's what works for you, your day. Time management is going to look different for all entrepreneurs, business owners, / even those who work in a 9-to-5 realm. So knowing where those structures come in and how you can kind of claim it and mold it to you, I think is going to be so impactful.
Yeah, I totally agree. And don't give up because the answer is out there. But also don't get frustrated because the answer will change. It's like when you get comfortable and your kids are smaller, you're like, yes, I've got this. Everyone's sleep schedule. And then there's a regression or they get out of diapers or now it's time to go to school. And you're like, well, let's start fresh, right?
Yeah.
Time is the same thing. It's a constant learning, right?
Exactly. And like I keep saying, give yourself grace. Life is unpredictable. So the more we learn to give ourselves grace in time management, how we can like understand maybe burnout for ourselves more, those little things, we're going to be so more I want to say at ease. I don't know why, at ease on how we approach things a little differently. And like, that's what I love to talk to you about I know you're coming on the radio show soon. So maybe we can dig deeper on that. And then also about societal norms on time management, on what it is a little bit more deeper, because I know we talked about this from our last show on motherhood as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be amazing. I could literally talk about this all day.
I know you can. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We'll definitely do another conversation. I've been calling it Real Conversations in Business because I just want to break down the mold even further than what we're doing on the radio show. So, and specifically in the business realm. So thank you so much, Jill, for coming in and speaking, and all of our listeners. If there's more questions that come for us, because we're going to be doing a radio show, I can't remember when we have you scheduled. It's not coming top of mind. But any kind of questions that you're like, Britt and Jill talk about these things, we will. So send me a message or Jill, but you can find us. Where can everyone find you, Jill?
Yeah, on LinkedIn, Jill Wright, my name, and on Instagram, Grow Like a Mother. And
then I forgot to tell you about this cool QR code. So you can scan the QR code and it goes directly to our website at Creative Dynamic Virtual Services or Creative Dynamics VA. And then you can follow us over on Instagram, Creative Dynamics VA. And then on LinkedIn, I'm more active over here lately. So happy to connect. And thank you everyone for listening.